Okay, today I'm going to talk about how to use the upcut saw. Now, a lot of students have a hard time with this, but it's not that difficult once you understand that it's just a rough cutting saw. It's not meant to finish cut anything, and it's meant to only cut raw lumber, okay, or lumber that needs to be a ½ inch longer than its finished length. Couple things to be aware of is that, one, it needs air to operate. So make sure before you come over here that this valve right here is parallel to the pipe and not turned off. This valve controls this regulator, which a hose is running to the upcut saw and also to this hose reel that has a quick connect for air tools. So when you come over here, you shouldn't have to do anything except make sure that this knob or this switch is not pushed in, that it's pulled out. You should make sure that this is out. That should never be pushed in. Usually what happens is that students will come over and forget that this is a two-step process. In order for the saw to cut your lumber, it needs to have two things. One, it has to have air for the disc guard to go down and hold your piece of lumber, and two, it has to have electricity. It has to have electricity come into it right here so that the blade can spin, come up, and make the cut. So there's two things going on. This is all about air reset. This is all about electric to turn the saw blade on. So the first thing you want to do is you want to turn the saw on, but you want to make sure that you have the board up against the fence. Now, as you can see, this is a very, very bowed piece of lumber. So myself, I would probably go ahead and rotate it around and put the bowed piece against the fence, depending on how long I needed it. Always check the ends of your boards to make sure that there's no defects, and I can't really tell if there is here or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and look inside there, and I can see that the blade is going to come up halfway between that opening right there in the base of the saw. So I'm going to line it up to where it just takes off a little bit. Hold it right there. Now the beauty with this upcut saw is that you don't have to hold the lumber. This guard will come down and hold the lumber pneumatically. So make sure your fingers aren't anywhere around this area. So first, we're going to turn on the saw. And then second, we're going to go ahead, push the foot lever one time. Push, release, it'll do its thing, and it's done. Let's go ahead and we'll turn the saw off so I don't have to talk over the saw. Now to do this, you just push that in, and sometimes we're going to stand here and wait for this blade to come to a complete stop. Even though that blade is really down here in the machine, it's always a good habit to get into to make sure that you wait for a blade to stop or a motor to stop spinning before you leave it. Now sometimes as I push this button in, I turned off the motor, but it came back out. Sometimes it will make that clicking sound and it'll be locked. You have to gently just go ahead and pull this out, and now it will turn on. So if it was clicked in and you come over here and you try to turn the power on, it's not going to turn the power on. First, check to make sure that this is in the out position. Now usually the mistakes that are made, and as you can tell I did make a nice fresh cut. The mistakes that are made is a student comes over here, lines up the lumber where he or she wants to make the cut, doesn't turn on the power, okay? The power has to be turned on first so that the saw is spinning, then we go ahead and we depress the pneumatic hold down so that the saw blade will come up. So what happens, the fans are on. I have the fans off right now simply to explain what I'm doing, but a student will come up here and he'll go push and go, oh, Mr. Snyder, something happened, the machine's broken, I don't know what happened. Well, what happened is that you didn't turn on the power. So the machine won't do anything until you reset this. You're going to come over here and look and go, what do I do? What do I do? Well, what you need to do is you need to push this reset button in. Push it in, then bring it back out, hit the reset air system button. You'll hear it. Now it's ready to go again. Let's turn on the saw this time. Okay? And now we'll make the cut. Simple. This time the button stayed in. I don't care. You should always get in the habit and make sure that this button is always out. I always pull it out for the next time. So that all I need to do is turn on the power first, air second. Power first, air second. Power first, air second. Not air first, then power. Power first, air second. Simple piece of equipment. The safety rules that go along with this is, number one, when the machine's on, any small pieces that you have inside here, don't reach your hand inside to grab it. If you still have a piece of lumber, go ahead and use it to push it out. Push this out, bring it back, and now you can throw away your scrap of lumber. Okay? This is pretty much a very safe piece of equipment. One person operates this machine at a time. If you are working in a group, only one person is to operate the saw. Your friends, your partners, your group members are going to have to stand off to the side while you operate this. You run the risk of somebody inadvertently hitting the foot lever while the saw is running if more than one person gets over here at a time to help out. One user, one saw, that's it. Now, as far as the scale goes, there's a built-in scale that's on here, and it's pretty accurate, within an 8/16 of an inch. Remember, this saw is only used for making rough cuts. It's not meant for finish cuts. So if I was to cut this to a specific length, I've cleared the end. I have no defects on my end grain, so this is good. I would then take this board, turn it 180 degrees around, and if I wanted to make it, let's say I wanted to cut it 94 inches, then I would hold that mark right there to 94. Make sure this is up against the fence. Turn on the saw. Power first, air second. Turn it off. And now I have a board that's roughly from end to end 94 inches. The only thing you have to be aware of when you bring brand new planks from the wood room to the upcut saw is the fact that the outfeed table to the right only has X amount of feet in travel. So let's say the distance from here to my disc sander is, let's say it's 9 feet. Well, if you have a 12-foot plank and you need to cut 2 feet off of it, you can't put all of that 9 feet over here or 10 feet over here and still have 2 feet. You need to put the longer piece of your plank over here, close the tool room door, and let the longer piece stick out this side, cutting off your shorter piece here. Okay, not a big deal. Just means that cut this off and make sure there's no defects. Measure over my 24.5 or 24 inches if I needed 23.5. Make my mark to my desired length. Let me get that piece of wood out of there. And then I would cut it. Because if there was 10 feet sticking out that side, I couldn't hold this end up against the 2-foot mark and make a cut because it would hit the disc sander on the end. Pretty simple. Good luck. Any questions, make sure to ask me. On the upcut saw, one thing that I'd like to address is all the scrap that comes off this machine. I just got done doing a demonstration on how to use the upcut saw, and these are the offcuts that I had. Here's an offcut and here's an offcut. As you can see, the ground is not the trash can. The trash can is located at certain areas of the shop. Make sure you get in the habit of taking your offcuts and placing them into the appropriate disposal canister. There are shop garbage receptacles throughout the entire shop. Do not put them on the lathes. Do not put them on the back side of the upcut saw.